The college basketball season is almost here, and there's no shortage of really good teams. But in this video, I will talk about the 10 teams that I think that stand above the rest. I think the 3 biggest things for team success is having star power, bench depth, and coaching. Good teams have at least one of these 3 factors. The great teams excel in at least 2 of these areas. And the dynastic teams typically have all 3. I think the teams in my list all take a different approach in terms of what will give them the most team success. And the best part is that many of them will be playing each other sometime this season. But without further ado, let's get started. For the 10th spot, I went with Duke. We all know about Duke's defense. It has been absolutely suffocating the past few years. This team is full of athletic players that can guard multiple positions, and they have depth for days in their backcourt. However, the three-point shooting has to improve. 32% from 3 is downright horrendous. They need to be able to shoot better to improve their spacing so their offense isn't so rigid. And for them to truly be a top 10 team, Toby Fournier has to be dominant, even as a freshman. How she plays is going to be the difference between being an elite team or just a team that occasionally looks great. But why is this the case exactly? It's because as good as Reagan Richardson and Ashlyn Jackson are, they aren't realistically going to outplay the high-level backcourts in the ACC or whatever tough teams they play in the tournament. So the front court will have to make up the difference. With Ariana Robertson being out for the season, it's all on Toby to make Duke a dangerous team inside the paint. And I think she will. At number 9, I have NC State. Sanaya Rivers and Isaiah James is one of the most exciting and one of the best backcourts in the entire country. When the competition goes up, so does their level of play. They are the veterans and leaders of this team, and they have a promising young core to complement them. Zoe Brooks had a very good freshman season, and I only expect her to get better. Zam Jones is a very good point guard coming out of high school. She has a ton of potential, and I think she will be able to contribute day one. You're probably wondering, how could a team that just went to the Final Four and has a bunch of returning players possibly be as low as 9? Because they lost River Baldwin and Mimi Collins, and I do not believe they did enough through recruiting and the portal to make up for these losses in the front court. A weak front court is like a bad offensive line. It doesn't matter how skilled the other positions are, the games become a lot harder to win. At number 8, I'm going with Iowa State. They loaded up on freshmen last year, and it's paid dividends. Audie Crooks and Addie Brown weren't just as advertised, they were better. The chemistry they had together would make you think they have been playing together for years. Last year, they combined for 32 points per game, 16 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. Both of them were efficient from the field as well. If they can continue to build off their freshman season, that will be one of the best duos in the country. Iowa State did the best thing they could this offseason, and that was to get transfers that complement Addie Brown and Audie Crooks' game. They added multiple transfers that excel at shooting the ball. This is huge because Addie Brown is a great passer and is going to hit the open players every time. It also will free up the paint for Audie Crooks, which will make it even easier for her to cook. But what really is going to make Iowa State a top 10 team is the return of Emily Ryan. Young talent is awesome, but it's important to have a veteran point guard who can pull everything together. And that's exactly what she does. There's no replacement for Angel Reese. That's a very big loss, no doubt about that. But LSU also is getting a lot in return. Samaya Smith is one of the most underrated players in the country. She was playing some very good basketball before her unfortunate ACL injury. Her and Aniza Mara are going to be a devastating front court. They may be undersized, but that's not going to stop them from being effective. But where LSU is really going to be dangerous is their guard play. Flau'jae had insane growth her sophomore season, and she's going to be playing with a starting point guard who actually knows how to run an offense. On top of all that, they still have a young, talented core in Michaela Williams, Jada Richard, and Miracle Shepard. LSU is not going anywhere. As long as Kim Mulkey is there and is continuously bringing talent, they will never be fully out of the picture. The only reason I don't have them higher is because the next 6 teams are ridiculously stacked. At number 6, I have UCLA. If someone said they are the second best team in the country, I wouldn't be mad. If someone said they are barely a top 10 team, I wouldn't be mad at them either. They have the top 3 most talented roster in the entire country. But Corey Close has not shown she can maximize a stacked roster. This team has an embarrassment of riches. It's almost criminal. They have the top 3 ranked recruits in the class of 2022 now. They also have Tamea Gardner, who was the 6th-ranked recruit in the country. The fact Kiki Rice and Lauren Betts combined for 44 points against Creighton in the NCAA tournament, and they only won by 4 points, tells you all you need to know. Then they collapsed against LSU. But I still have faith in this team. I think the talent they have this year is too big to fail, but it's really because of Kiki Rice and Lauren Betts. I still think there's another gear that Kiki Rice can hit. She improved basically every part of her game her sophomore year, and she's the type of player that will keep getting better. You combine that with the fact Lauren Betts is getting more comfortable with the team, I think UCLA finally breaks the Sweet 16 barrier. This is definitely a team I'm going to revisit later. I'd say this is the first true controversial placement on this list. Most people have Uconn in their top 3, some even going as far as saying they're the best team. Paige Bueckers, when healthy, has never missed a Final Four, which makes it very hard to put them out of the top 4. Paige Bueckers is going to do her thing. I have no doubt about that. Uconn lost Nika Mule to the draft, but Caitlin Chen is a very solid replacement. And I loved what I saw from KK Arnold and Ashlyn Shade last season. They had to play a lot more minutes than originally expected, and they stepped up to the plate. And don't even get me started on the shooting. Between Paige, Fudd, Allie, Sarah Strong, and Ashlyn Shade, I would be floored if this team didn't lead the country in three-point shooting. There's very few teams that have a backcourt that can even think about even competing with Uconn. But the reason I hesitate to rank them higher is their front court. There's no proper replacement for Aaliyah Edwards. Sarah Strong is very good, but she's not a true big. And that will show itself when they go against USC and South Carolina. I think Jana El Alfi is the deciding factor on the team. Uconn's backcourt is going to continue to be disgusting, and Sarah Strong will add to their deadly shooting and be a great facilitator for them. But Jana El Alfi is their only true protection against the dominant post players in college basketball. She has the size and mobility to disrupt them, but only time will tell if that's the case. If you have asked me who would be the teams in the Final Four, it's the top 4 teams I have in this list. Starting with Texas. They lost one of the best guards in the country last year due to an ACL injury in Rory Harmon. And they still somehow won the Big 12 championship and the Elite 8. Madison Booker went on absolute tear last season, and with Rory Harmon back, the sky's the limit. They are easily a top 5 duo in the country. They can score, pass, and defend. Vic Schaefer used to coach at Mississippi State, so they'll have zero issues adjusting to the SEC. He is a defense-first coach, but unlike Kara Lawson, he has a mean offense to go with it. Now there is one major area of concern. Taylor Jones suffers the most freak random injuries you can think of. They were able to get away with it last year because of Deanna Gatson, but she is no longer there. Taylor Jones is their best rim protector, and they need her to stay healthy to truly compete with the big dogs. The year Notre Dame won the national championship, they were ranked number 6 in the AP poll. Will history repeat itself? It's way too early to say that, but I do know this is the best roster they have had since their 2018 run, and one of the best rosters Notre Dame has ever had. I'll fight anyone on this. Notre Dame has the best backcourt in the entire country. Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, and Sonia Citron are all going to be first-round draft picks. The Olivia Miles and Hidalgo won't work well together narrative is going to age worse than an ice cream cone in Las Vegas. But the real reason I'm so high on this Notre Dame team is that Neil Ivey finally fixed a flaw that's been plaguing them for years. Post depth. She finally got quality post players from the transfer portal, something I've been begging her to do for years. Don't let King's size fool you. She's an absolute beast inside. She's only 6 feet, but plays tougher than a lot of 6'4" players. Liz Carlin is a great rebounder and a sniper from three-point range. This will go extremely well with Hidalgo and Olivia. Now, there are 2 issues with this team that worry me. The first being injuries. Notre Dame routinely has major injuries every year. For this ranking to hold, Maddie Westbeld has to come back healthy, whenever that is. And none of the key starters can miss significant time either. The second issue is that even though this team has a way better front court than the years past, it's still undersized. Outside of Kate Cavall, she has to be on her A game for Notre Dame to beat the higher level teams like USC and Uconn. She's going to make or break this team. She's either going to be a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball, or she's going to struggle to score and get cooked inside. I think it will be the former, which is why I have Notre Dame this high. For the second best team in the country, I'm going with USC. Juju Watkins had an exceptional freshman season, both from an individual award standpoint and from a team perspective. She was a first-team All-American who led her team to a Pac-12 championship and Elite Eight, and they have made massive improvements since that time. It cannot be overstated how big the Talia and Kiki Iriafen signing are for this team. It's not just the talent they have, it's the fact they are perfect fits for this team. They desperately needed a veteran point guard, which is what TVO brings. Getting Kiki Iriafen from the transfer portal was like hitting the jackpot. You are not supposed to be able to get a player this good from the transfer portal. I know USC is young, but they need to be in win-now mode. Because there's no guarantee Juju will ever play with a player as good as Iriafen again. We are talking about a runaway top 2 pick in the draft and a preseason AP first-team All-American. I didn't even bring up their stacked recruiting class. There will be a video on Kaylee Heckel and Kennedy Smith soon, so stay tuned for that. Spoiler alert, they are very good. Juju dominated her first season, but I expect her to be even better. Her work ethic is unmatched. She's not a player who will accept being as good as she was last year. She's going to be better. Anything less than a Big Ten championship and making the Final Four run would be a disappointing season. The least surprising entry on this list, South Carolina. They are the best team until proven otherwise. Sure, they lost Cardoso, and Ashton Watkins possibly won't return. All that means is that teams actually have a chance of winning this year. Key word is chance. All the other players are still there, and they are going to be better than they were the year before. Especially the younger core of Tessa Johnson, Chloe Kitts, and Malaysia Fulwiley. They proved last year that they were the best recruiting class in 2023, and they are going to get better. Then you add Mariam Dauda, 6'4" big who can defend and stretch the floor. And don't even get me started on Joyce Edwards. There's not enough praise you could give her. All I know is a team better be able to beat South Carolina this year, because this is the worst they are going to be. If no one can beat them now, you might as well give them a championship in 2026 as well. Imagine when Maddie and Adele Tack get fully healthy, a sophomore Joyce Edwards, and an upperclassman trio of Tesselae and Chloe. South Carolina has to be the #1 team, just for the sole fact so many great teams ducked them in the non-conference season. I don't want to hear any team say they are the best if they were too scared to play the best. That's all for this video. I think this is the most I've ever agreed with the AP poll in terms of their preseason rankings. Last year I had a lot of disagreements, but this year there is a lot of overlap. Are there any teams you think are too low or too high? Is there a team in the country you think is being slept on? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.